just waiting for me to come on.
Yep.
No, our timer's on.
Did you want to hit
So many moving parts. Hey folks, good afternoon. I'm Russell Sheppard. We're coming today from C10. We've been gone for a while because of COVID, and we started our actual recordings again. As you can see, we have a new background, and my producer is not here anymore. I've been given the task, and with the help of our CTN staff, to learn how to actually produce programs. So we're glad that you allow us to come in your home, whether it's morning, evening, afternoon, whatever day of the week. We're just glad that you allow us to come in your home to just provide some information for what we do. And like I said, this is not our first broadcast. We've been being played week after week, day after day for the last 2.5 years. So I'm just excited to be back in the studio and to meet you with a new broadcast. My name again is Russell Sheppard. I'm a Bible teacher, and I don't want you to be intimidated by the word Bible, what we're doing today. We're going to kind of just talk generally, so nothing's really difficult or complicated. And as we go through and develop an audience that people want to be a part of what we're doing, we'll share some tools that it would be beneficial for you to have. But right now, I just want to talk about who we are, what do we believe, and why do we do what we do. So again, my name is Russell Sheppard. I've been in the ministry for over 40 some odd years as a Bible teacher, and we don't practice religion. I don't believe in religion. I believe in spiritual life. And so what we actually believe is something that works inside of you. It develops a new belief system, a new way of thinking. So that things that oftentimes we all go through in life, things that we struggle with, things that are painful activities from our past, our paradigm. It was explained to me years ago that our minds are like a file cabinet. And when there's something that's said or some injury that happens as children, as we become conscious of the world around us, if it's something that's said that's really painful, we actually file that away in our file cabinet. Something that's enjoyable, we file that away too. But unfortunately, over time, because of our growth and development and our dependence on the world and people around us, those things that are said to us have no ability to screen it or to evaluate the truth of it. So if somebody comes along, when I was a young kid, they used to call me bubblehead and they used to call me big ears, and things that, kids can be cruel. And unfortunately, those things could kind of have an impact on you subconsciously. Other things that happen when you go to school, or you have family members or kids in the neighborhood who just, maybe they're going through some trauma at home, or maybe they're just kids that just like to cause problems. Those things happen to us as children. Today they call it bullying. But society can be cruel. You guys know that. It can be vicious too. So how do we then look at information through a different lens, a new way of looking at things, especially myself? How do I begin to learn how to be responsible for me and to change me, not try to change you, which most people unfortunately do, because the issue of accepting things the way they are can be frightful. So as we grow up and we start to develop more perceptions of reality, unfortunately, sometimes people never change how they evaluate things. And the older you get, some of those painful memories could be blocked out. They call it denial or avoidance, because they're painful situations, and you don't want to have to bring up old thinking patterns. But sometimes things happen that somebody says something to you that's mean or cruel, and what it'll do is go back in that file cabinet. And it goes back to the first time that injury was caused to you, physically or mentally or psychologically, and it brings it up in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. Unfortunately, folks, some folks carry this the rest of their lives, and they live in fear. They live with anxiety, they live with stress. They have things that just control them. So what society has been trained to do is give you a pill or have you take a drink to medicate it. Or a lot of times you see people get involved in destructive lifestyles like addiction, where the addiction is designed to not deal with the problem, but the symptom, which is feelings and emotions. That's part of our nature. We're created to have feelings and emotions. The question is not, do you have feelings and emotions? Do those feelings and emotions, do they run you? Do they destroy you? Do they contaminate you? That you're older and now you just live life on the edge. Sometimes people call it like people live life on the edge of a cliff, and they're ready to jump off. Sometimes they do jump off, unfortunately, and they hurt themselves and they take their lives. So the purpose of why we're here is to talk about how you can deal with that, not in your intellectual capacity, but what's called the inner man, the immaterial part of man, the part that you don't see. You can see my eyes now, but you can't see my soul. That's inside of me. They call it the ego, or the part of us that has feelings. All our bodies are the same. You can share my body. You can take my heart, you can have a heart transplant, you can have a liver transplant, but you can't share my soul, my personal personality, the way I'm made, that has my conscience, my will, a moral value system, and the ability to have norms and standards. And we all develop that. They're called monikers. And they're things that we develop as lifestyles that we find something that we like. Sometimes those things can be positive, but sometimes those things at some point can turn on us. And what we found some pleasure in, or some joy in, or some excitement, can actually turn against you. So what the purpose of why we're here is to talk about how to change, how to develop a new way of thinking, a new belief system that's based on universal, some people call it karma, where they look at principles that operate. They're universal laws. You guys know this. If you're old enough and you've been in life, you see things, they talk about what comes around goes around. That's one of the things they use as a euphemism. Some people call it reaping and sowing. Some people call it karma. But, part of our hurt is to retaliate. When we're hurt, we hurt people. And it's a defense mechanism that instead of getting better, you actually start shifting the blame. You actually start pointing the finger at somebody else. You start blaming people about your problems instead of be personally responsible for the decisions you made as an adult. I'm not talking about a kid, but as an adult, when you're able to have a consciousness to know what's right, what's wrong, that our decision making is still based on a young person or a child mentality. It's not based on maturity. Maturity is something that comes, it's conscious. You're conscious of self. You're conscious of things that you accept and things you can change. You're conscious of the ability to ask and receive help from people who have experience instead of living in fear and I call it putting on a mask that you don't want anybody to know that you don't know what you don't know. There's something amazing about that. When people gain experience in life, they know when you don't know what you don't know. Unfortunately, in this world, it's two ways I think knowledge comes. One is through experience of other people, that humility will ask for help. How do you do that? Can you show me how to do that? Pride and ego will live in fear. I don't want anybody to know I don't know that. So the question is, how do you then get the help to change? How do I get the help to change and grow to a point that I'm able to have day by day a peace of mind, to have serenity, and not have to be confused or controlled by outside forces that this world system, unfortunately, is designed to do. That's why we're here, to talk about spiritual healing, inner healing, healing that really sets people free. But I'll be honest about it, it doesn't happen overnight. I didn't get to a situation in my life that things started to unravel because of poor decisions I made. It took time to make those poor decisions. And once you recognize that the problem is me, my decision making could be poor in certain areas. It might be in relationships. Have you ever, whether you're male or female, you find out you keep picking a person that's just destructive to you, and you wonder why you keep doing that? Because you're innocent. You come in the relationship and you try to give, and they're takers. Or you get around friends who are just they have a saying they use. They say water seeks its own level. So they told me, and it's been said to me, that water seeks its own level. The problem with that statement and that question is that I attract what I am. And so when I realized that if I want to attract something or somebody different, in personal relationships, friends, relationships, romantic relationships, I have to change, not the person. But that goes back to when children, they look outside and they evaluate the world based on a limited perception. That's what they do. Now, what I just said about change and water seeks its own level, change is not easy, guys, but it's doable. The main thing I have to do is be honest about the situation I'm in. And I don't like it anymore. And when I'm willing to accept personal responsibility and ask for help, I can change. Because then I can find people who understand and have already traveled down this road called life that can help me. The unfortunate part is society tends to look down upon experience in life and wisdom. Folks, if you live a certain amount of time, you gain some experience, you gain some knowledge, but you don't necessarily have wisdom how to apply it. So you don't continue to do things that you did in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, maybe 40s, 50s, 60s. Maybe you haven't. Maybe this is not something that makes any sense to you in terms of your personal life. But if it does, then I want you to stay around for a while, because I think we have an answer for everybody who wants it, but you have to want it, and that's where the change comes in. The first thing, to admit it. Second thing is to be open-minded. Have you ever met somebody who keeps doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and they don't see it? They're called closed-minded. They can't let any new ideas come in because they're not the problem. And no matter what you say, and you shouldn't say anything unless they ask for help, but your experience, if somebody looks at you and they see that something has changed in you, your personality, your behavior, your conduct, and they're curious, if they ask you, how did you do that? Then you can actually share with them what somebody gave to you. But some people are just, they're full of themselves, quite frankly. They're full of pride and ego, that they resist change because it's frightening to change. But you know, it's painful to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So change is inevitable, but with change comes growth, and with growth comes freedom, and with freedom comes peace. So I guess the question why we're here and what do we believe is that you can have peace today. You can have peace, you can have gratitude, or you can be bitter, you can be angry, you can be miserable. And I don't know about you folks, but life is too short to spend a life of misery and despair. So what do we believe? We believe there's the answer to every problem we have. There is an answer to every problem we have. But the answer is spiritual in nature. It's not physical. It's not me changing the outside, but it's going inside and changing that belief system I talked about in the beginning of the program. That comes from an inner change. It comes from your inner man, the part of you that's invisible, that you can't see. And now, like I said, you can look at my physical body, but you can't see inside of me. But you know different personalities, and you know different, I'll use the word, I'm using this loosely, spiritual spirits. You meet some people that are just, you ever met somebody that's just, they're out to hurt people? I'm an educator by trade, and I remember working in a big major city where some of the gangs, the Crips and Bloods, were there. And just to see the viciousness of some of the kids that were older kids that actually would team up and pile up on one person because they were different gang members, it's just, they learned how to do that. It was not nurturing and kindness, or to see a group of males or females just go out and attack different people. Well, when you find out their background and where they come from and the homes they grew up in, that type of behavior had been going on for quite a while. So it was, they call it, they have a term they call it dog eat dog. It wasn't giving and receiving, it was taking and using. And some of the children I've gotten to meet over the years in urban education, when you start to connect the behavior, you start to get to know the kids and their families. You see why they are the way they are. So the privilege of being able to work with young people and know those young people because they grew up in the neighborhood I lived in, and know their parents and their grandparents, I saw patterns of lifestyles and history that have been there for before these children were born. Maybe you came from a family like that, but let me say this to you. It has nothing to do with living in an urban area or living in a rural area or living in a suburban area. We're human beings. And what we do is we actually sometimes in this life develop false belief systems that don't work. So why do we do this? Well, because it's our responsibility. We do this because we really care. And one of the things is a privilege to be able to come in CTN and be given a format. And I have the privilege to come into your home. You don't know me. You never met me. I know some people watched this program before, but I get to come into your home and share things that has helped me. And maybe if I can help one person on this broadcast, then we've accomplished a lot. One person who becomes free from the past that can keep you gripped in pain the rest of your life, instead of give you freedom and be able to give you the ability to change you so you can go help some other people who want the help too. So we are what's called a Grace Church. That's G-R-A-C, Grace, God's riches at Christ's expense. I'm a believer. I'm not religious. I don't go to a physical building. We meet in the building, but we're not the building. The church today is the body of Christ. It's made up of believers, Jew and Gentiles, male and females, bond and free, Jew and Gentiles, all put into a spiritual unit that God does. And what I've learned about being a grace believer is that over time you learn how to live a life that's consistent with who you are. Religion puts you under some type of performance system that you have to perform to get some acceptance from God. That's not grace. God accepts you just the way you are. He loves you just the way you are. With all your defects, with all your frailties, with all your fears, with all your doubts. He loves you. The issue of the love of God is called selflessness. It's the ability to value and esteem me better than himself. Who does that? Most times love and society can be, they call it phileo love, which is called brotherly love, the city of Philadelphia, or it can be eros love, that's in the Greek, that's erotic or sensual love. But agape love, unconditional love, is showing a kindness towards people. Sometimes they call it charity, but charity is like donating to the homeless or some type of organization. But agape love is God's love working in me and out of me. And that's what heals people, the love of God. God is not mad at you. He's not waiting to throw down the lightning bolt at you. He's not waiting to catch you doing something wrong. That's religion, folks. That's insane. The God of the Bible is the creator of heaven and earth. And since he knows everything about you. So you don't have to hide. If somebody knew everything about you, all the positives and the negatives, wouldn't you feel free just to be who you are? And that's grace. The grace life is the life of a believer. The religious life is the life of do's and don'ts. You can't go here, can't do that. And you know what? That puts a lot of pressure on you. Or the ability to judge people who don't do what you think they should be doing. So as a grace believer, the grace life is something that you have to find out for yourself. I can't tell you what to believe. That's not my responsibilities. It's for you to begin to find out what is real spiritual life, and how does that look, and how does that operate. And as you begin that journey, you'll find the freedom that you never believed existed. You'll find the forgiveness that you didn't know existed. You'll find the acceptance that's unconditional. You'll find the love that just passes all understanding. You'll find the things that man is looking for, but it's not in him. It's not in society, but it's in the spiritual reality or the Creator. So that's what we're going to start talking about. And last time we met, I went through a lot of. My wife was here, and she was the program director, and we put up verses on the screen. And as a grace believer, I'm a Bible student. I'm a Bible believer. I believe the Bible is the final absolute authority on all things, in the King James Bible. It's for English-speaking people. And the words on the page are the authority, not me. So I'm a believer. That's why I say, my friend Ron used to say, either you're a believer or you're not. And that was true. But that's your choice. You have free will, free to do whatever you want to do. So if you're watching this station and everything I said for the last 15 minutes doesn't make sense to you, the freedom we have is to turn to another station. But if something struck your heart, not your head, your heart, and I was saying that you connected with my heart, that may encourage you to stay around for a while. And as we go through some different broadcasts, I don't want to make anything heavy. I don't want to make anything that requires us to think more than we want to right now, because this is starting off in the beginning. And I think one of the things that the privilege of having 2 years off, and unfortunately all the tragedies that went on with COVID and all the people who are not here anymore. So the question becomes to me, where did they go? Where did they go? And the question would be, if you could know, would you want to know? And you can know. You can know, because this life is not, it's temporal in this physical body, but it's eternal. There's a purpose you're here for. If you're listening to me today, God has a purpose for you. He wants you to know, and I want you to know, and I do know, so we can help each other. Now, one of the things I'm going to offer to you in the middle of the program, I did this last time, is some free booklets. This one is that God, for Christ's sake, hath, past tense, forgiven you. Well, you want to know that God is not mad at you for anything you've done in the past, the present, or the future. He forgives you all your trespasses on the basis of his son's work at Calvary. Not what you have to do, but just faith in the finished work of Jesus Christ at the cross of Calvary. That's what's going to heal you, folks. Another pamphlet I want to give you is called The Secret Document. This is about a will that a man who befriended another man who had an inheritance that he left, and the will was read, and this man had been told by the guy who had the estate that he was going to get his inheritance, his will. When it was read, it would be his monies, millions of dollars. And when they opened the will, his name wasn't there. And so that's what this picture is. I don't know if you can see it or not. But the man went through the rest of his days angry and bitter because his name wasn't in the will. When he died, his inheritance, his estate, the people that had his will, and the people that were his inheritors, they found an envelope that this man had never opened up. And when he opened up, he found that this gentleman who had promised him all his wealth had actually left his wealth. But it wasn't read to will. It was a separate incident. It was a separate occasion where people came and actually, he found out later on that he had, well, he didn't find out because he died, but he had lived all his life with wealth that he didn't even know he had. Well, that's the way spiritual life is. If you can be wealthy beyond belief, but it's not physical wealth, it's eternal wealth, it's spiritual wealth, and you find that you chase things down here that are temporal, that you do die and you don't take it with you, then the question is, where does it go? Some people that probably squander the money you made. My wife and I have a philosophy: we're going to enjoy ours while we're here. We're going to vacation a lot, and we have money to give away to our family members when we die. But you know, we worked a long time, so we should enjoy the fruits of our labor too. I don't know how you think about that, but that's each individual's decision. So the grace believer understands the wealth that they already possess. They don't have to go out here trying to find something, a title or a position or acceptance in a group. They find it in their identity, their new identity. And it becomes a way of living, it becomes a lifestyle. Now, I think my time's up on this broadcast. We got off with the time, so we're going to stop this. It might be short. But again, at the end of the broadcast, you're going to see in the closing credits information on how you can reach us and request this information. So hopefully you'll join us next time. We are not, I think the schedule is determined by the programmer here, but we'll see you on a regular basis. And you know, how do you like our background now? Our friend over here who's in the studio with me picked this beautiful background for us, and I like it. It's a real nice background. It's peaceful, it's comfortable. Now, it doesn't mean we're studious. It just means she picked a nice background. So I'm grateful for that. But again, I'm Russell Sheppard. I'm the pastor of Grace Bible Fellowship. I'm your Bible teacher. And I just hope you join us again as we go into God's infallible book. Until we see you again, next time, greet you. Maranatha.